11. Sir Paul, start recording.
Good morning, National Realty Estates Association. How are you guys? Good morning, architects, planners, designers, developers, brokers. Good morning, everyone. And today is March 16, 2022, and we are holding our ENRIA online business forum. And we are broadcasting live over Facebook Live and Zoom. I am your host today, a member from Enria National, Architect Louis Vito, and I present to you my co-host, the President of National Realty Estates Association Baguio Car Chapter and a certified international property specialist by the National Association Realtors USA, no other than Miss Alma Grace Sara.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Philippines, and good morning, world. My co-host, for the information of everybody, Architect Louis Vito is the youngest past president of the United Architects of the Philippines, and also the president of elect of the Rotary Club of San Mateo Central, a faculty member of National University of College of Architecture, and the principal architect of Vito Associates. So we are about to start the program, Sir Architect Louis.
Yes, thank you, Miss Alma. Okay, to formally start the program, may we ask Enria National Auditor, Miss Ruth Marie C. Atienza, to lead the prayer, followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We praise and adore you for being the source of our life, the light of our mind, the love of our heart, and the salvation of our soul. Thank you for trusting and believing in our individual gifts, our potentials and strengths. May we always desire to use these gifts in accordance to your most holy will, so that we may all be an instrument of your light, your love, and peace. For NREC and NHA real estate updates and insights. Bless our special guests and resource speakers, moderators, participants, sponsors, the organizing and technical teams. Please grant us extraordinary and excellent internet connections to ensure a fruitful and lively forum. We pray all these in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Morning.
Morning.
And before we proceed to the talks, we thank our generous sponsors for making this Enria online business forum possible. So let's start with OFW Party List number 49 by Chair Emerita Marisa Del Mar. And thanks to EGI E. Ganzon Incorporated on Solid Ground. Davis Paints, SMDC, and thank also to Forest Lake, to Duraville Realty and Development Corp, the Houselands, and Fiesta Communities.
We shall be having the introduction of our NAREA Board of Trustees and Officers and Board of Advisors and chapter presidents and secretariat. The video, please. Thank you. The National Real Estate Association Incorporated would like to extend its invitation to be part of our membership campaign and members of the association. Our members, so we have our developers, affiliates, and professionals. We partner with national and regional brands, we connect with various businesses, and we link with working individuals. We proceed with our announcement and house rules.
Yeah, okay. So to make this online event remarkable, we need your cooperation to comply on the following house rules to be followed by some other announcement. So mute your microphone and please turn off your camera. Only the MCs, moderators, officers, and speakers are allowed to use the microphone and camera. Type your questions in the chat box if needed, and the moderators will assess and handle the question after all the speakers have spoken. Again, good morning, everyone, and welcome again in our NREA Online Business Forum with the team of AMLAC and NHA Real Estate Updates and Insights. And we are so privileged because we have amazing speakers for today. Ma'am Ana, can you give us the names of our speakers for today's online forum?
We have here our speakers, Attorney Ronel U. Buenaventura and Architect Maria Benita Regala from, they will be the one handling the real estate updates and insights. This will be, maybe call on our national president first to do the welcome remarks. Architect.
Thank you.
Ron,
yeah, thank you, Ms. Alma. So happy morning, NREANs, and good morning, everyone. So the month of March opened with good news. The pandemic was lowered to level 1 in the National Capital Region and in 38 other areas in the country. For the first time, the Philippines has experienced allowing 100% capacity at public and private offices, as well as in construction sites, in face-to-face meetings, conferences, and exhibition events, among other things. People are just so excited to get out of their houses, and such eventualities signal the further opening up of the economy, which would mean greater things are in store for the real estate industry. Today, our online business forum is graced by the past National President of the United Architects of the Philippines and the Deputy Director of Commitment and Policy Group of AMLAC. Both will be formally introduced later. The forum will afford us with updates and insights on housing, registration deadlines, some other policies, and flexibility in some compliance requirements. We look forward to hearing more good news in the months to come. And having said that, I, Architect Ronnie Bianda, the National Real Estate Association National President, formally opens the business forum and welcome you all. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you so much to our National President Architect Ronnie B. Biando. Okay, in behalf of the President of NAREA Metro CBD Baguio, Metro CBD chapter, Mr. Kenneth Trovo, we would like to take this opportunity and honor to present to you our speakers for today. For our first speaker, we have here, he is currently the acting deputy director of the Commitments and Policy Group of the Anti-Money Laundering Council Secretariat. He has worked as legal officer of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and as associate solicitor of the Office of the Solicitor General. He also is a law professor, book author, and a bar reviewer. He graduated class valedictorian and magna cum laude from the College of Law of Bulacan State University and ranked 10th in the 2015 bar examinations. He finished his master's in philosophy and BA psychology from the University of the Philippines, Diliman in 2011 and 2009 respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, may we all welcome Attorney Ronel U. Buenaventura.
Morning, and thank you for that gracious introduction. I will be proceeding with my updates on the AMLC rules and laws, rules, and regulations. I'll just flash my presentation. Okay na. Tayo. Sorry, I'm just trying to share my presentation po. Okay, there. So good morning again. On behalf of the AMLC and Secretariat, it is a pleasure to share the developments in our country's anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing, or AML-CTF regime, particularly Republic Act number RA 11521 that places real estate brokers and developers under the regulatory ambit of the AMLC. An overview of our discussion is as follows. So first would be RA 11521, which amended the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2001, or the AMLA. 2 would be the phases of supervision, and 3, the risk-based supervision and obligations of covered persons. So for the AMLA amendments under RA 11521, we note that the AMLA is one of the most amended laws in the country. It has undergone 5 amendments since the law was passed in 2001. This reflects the dynamic nature of the AML-CTF compliance of being relevant to the times by being responsive to the ever-changing global situation on money laundering and terrorism financing activities. Effective on January 30, 2021, the passage of RA 11521, which amended the AMLA, is vital to address the technical compliance deficiencies identified in our country's mutual evaluation report. Salient provisions of RA 11521 are as follows. First is the inclusion of real estate brokers, real estate developers, and offshore gaming operators, as well as their service providers as covered persons under the AMLA. Second is the inclusion of Section 254 on the attempt to evade or defeat tax of the National Internal Revenue Code, which is tax evasion, the tax evasion provision in the law as a predicate crime to money laundering, where the basic tax due in the final assessment is in excess of 25 million pesos. Third is the violation of Section 19A, Paragraph 3 of the Strategic Trade Management Act in relation to proliferation financing pursuant to United Nations Security Council Resolutions 1718 and 2231 as a predicate crime to money laundering. Fourth is the expansion of the investigative powers of the AMLA, AMLC, to include investigative techniques available to other law enforcement agencies. Fifth is the authority of the AMLC to implement targeted financial sanctions in relation to proliferation financing under UNSCR 1718 and 2231 and successor resolutions. Six is the authority of the AMLC to preserve, manage, or dispose assets pursuant to a freeze order, asset preservation order, or judgment of forfeiture. Seventh is the prohibition on the issuance of injunction against the freeze order and asset preservation order issued under the AMLA. And eighth is the provision on information security and confidentiality. Since the primary supervisor of designated non-financial businesses and professions, or the DNFBPs, excluding the casinos, would be the AMLC, in effect, the industry will now be supervised by the AMLC in terms of AML-CTF compliance. To those not familiar, DNFBPs include the lawyers, accountants, dealers of precious stones, dealers of precious metals, and now the real estate brokers and developers. While generally a casino is considered as a DNFBP, we normally exclude them during such discussions since their primary regulator would be the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or the PAGCOR. Now we proceed to the supervision cycle. There are four general phases towards the supervision of DNFBPs, namely environmental scanning for AML-CTF coverage and issuance of AML-CTF regulations, risk assessment, risk-based supervision of covered persons, and enforcement actions and filing of cases. We have conducted an environmental scanning way before we even proposed this amendment to the AMLA. Now that we have the law, the first phase is considered done, which would now lead us to the next phase, which is risk assessment. For the risk assessment of the real estate sector, we have completed the study Real Estate Sector Review Assessment. The study aims to identify and assess the potential criminal threat environment and vulnerabilities associated with the sector and to develop risk measures. Based on the assessment, the overall threat of the real estate sector is rated medium as the sector is exposed to illegal drugs, corruption, fraud, and terrorism threats. On the other hand, the limited AML-CTF regulation of the sector at the time of the assessment has exposed the sector to medium-high vulnerability to money laundering and terrorism financing. Moreover, the AML-CTF compliance of the real estate sector is still developing, considering its recent inclusion as a covered person under the AMLA as amended. Effective coordination and collaborative activities of the AMLC, Professional Regulation Commission, Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board, real estate industry associations, and other relevant agencies present a high probability of achieving desired results, as these agencies focus on one goal in combating potential money laundering and terrorism financing threats and other related threats within the sector. The Real Estate Sector Review Assessment is available in the AMLC website for better appreciation of the public on how the real estate sector is largely involved or may be related in any of the ML or TF activities. As this study has been approved, we now go to the risk-based supervision of the industry, meaning to say there will be on-site and off-site compliance checking that will be performed by the AMLC's Compliance and Supervision Group. Since we are under the risk-based regime, we will be using a risk rating framework to reflect different components to which a covered person will be assessed. A quick discussion on that will be made shortly. Finally, the last phase of the cycle, before it starts again, would be the imposition of enforcement of actions and, if warranted, filing of cases. We do have the rules of procedure in administrative cases, or the RPAC, and the Enforcement Action Guidelines, or the EAG, in addition to the possible criminal, civil, and administrative cases that can be filed against erring personalities. We normally discuss the full details of the sanctions in our full-length training sessions. Suffice to say, most participants are surprised on the full extent of the sanctions that can be imposed upon them for non-compliance with regulatory provision. As mentioned, I will show the factors to consider in the risk rating system under the risk-based supervision regime and the corresponding obligations of the covered persons. A covered person is assigned a numerical and adjectival composite rating based on 4 components, to wit, board and senior management oversight, money laundering or terrorism financing prevention program, or the MTPP, and the internal control and audit and implementation. If you may note on the report on compliance that you may have received or you may receive from the AMLC, it provided you a composite rating, which was the result of the evaluation of the following components. For appreciation, we will discuss them briefly on how certain violations affect the rating received by the entity. For the board and senior management oversight, the same is assessed through the ability of the compliance office to manage the MTPP. This would include independence or adequate resources and direct reporting and implementation issues and previous supervisory directives. Another is the risk management practices that must be consistent and effective, which includes risk profiling, updating, and alert management. We also have the management information system, which must be reliable, timely, complete, and helpful, and the self-assessment system, which must be independent, accurate, helpful, internal audit, and compliance testing. The MTPP, or the Money Laundering Terrorism Financing Prevention Program, is assessed through its coverage, which must be consistent with the implementing rules and regulation, in writing and approved by the board of directors, and corresponds to the entity structure, risk profile, and the complexity of the organization. And then it must also be it must be in accordance with the risk management policies based on the risk profiling, updating, and alert management, and the extent of dissemination of the MTPP and level of awareness, which will include training and dynamic dissemination methods. For internal control and audit, it is assessed through the internal control or the adequacy and soundness of controls to identify, monitor, manage, and control ML or money laundering and terrorism financing risks, independence and support, which means it must be with adequate resources, direct reporting line, and assured employment, coverage, which includes audit coverage, meaning all required area under the MTPP and existing rules and regulations, and the timeliness and communication, meaning all reports must be timely communicated to the board of directors and be provided as well to the relevant users for timely resolution. And last but more importantly, the implementation aspect. In most cases, this is the area where most covered persons falter. It is assessed through the mnemonics ROCSTAR or ROCSTR, or risk-based acceptance and identification, ongoing monitoring of transactions and activities, covered transaction reporting system. S is for the suspicious transaction reporting system. C is continuous education and training program, and R, record keeping and retention system. Overall, all issues of covered persons are slotted in all these components and subcomponents to arrive at the risk rating. Suffice to say, it would take a consolidated effort across all units to raise the rating of the entity. The improvement of the rating cannot be left alone with the compliance office and or the business units. It takes a consolidated approach from top to bottom to get a passing mark based on the rating system. But to keep things simple, the 3 main obligations of covered persons are the conduct of customer due diligence measures, transaction reporting, and record keeping. The first of this is the customer due diligence, or more commonly known as the KYC, or know your client or know your customer. But there is more to customer due diligence than calling it a KYC. The detailed processes under the CDD include measures such as the customer identification process, customer verification process, identification and verification of agents, beneficial ownership verification, determination of the purpose of relationship, and ongoing monitoring process. Next will be the transaction reporting, specifically covered transaction reporting and suspicious transaction reporting. For the covered transaction reports, just remember the magic number 7,500,000 pesos or 7.5 million. For the real estate industry, the covered transaction threshold is above 7.5 million cold cash transaction. Just to clarify, this is not the usual definition of cash that you are accustomed to. This is cold cash, physical cash transaction. So if the payment is through check or fund transfer, it would not be a covered transaction. For the STR, please note that there are following suspicious transactor indicators, such as there is no underlying or legal trade obligations, purpose or economic justification, the client is not properly identified, the amount is not commensurate with the client's business or financial capacity, there is structuring such that the payment is made to avoid the 7.5 cold cash transactions threshold, there is a deviation from the client's profile or past transactions, or the transaction is in any way related to an unlawful activity or money laundering, or any of the predicate offenses that is about to be or is being or has been committed, or similar or analogous circumstances or transactions. Now, for the third obligation, and probably the easiest to comply with, is the record-keeping requirement. The number to remember is 5. To maintain and safely store for 5 years from the dates of transactions all customer records and transaction documents, to keep all records obtained through customer due diligence, account files, and business correspondence, and the results of any analysis undertaken for at least 5 years following the closure of account, termination of the business or professional relationship, or after the date of the occasional transaction. If a case has been filed in court involving the account, to retain and safely keep beyond the 5-year period until it is officially confirmed by the AMLC that the case has been resolved, decided, or terminated with finality. Please take note that failure to keep records is a criminal offense, such that keeping all records is a must within this 5-year period. So that ends my presentation and the updates on anti-money laundering laws, rules, and regulations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much to our speaker. And that's a very good insight for everyone.
Magkaisa, sama-sama, tara na, suportahan ang ating party list, One Filipinos Worldwide. Sama-sama.
Ako po si Ate Marisa Dalmar, number 49, OFW Party List. Unang-una po nung tayo artista, nagpunta tayo sa abroad at habang nagsushooting tayo, nakita ko po, syempre being the leading lady, marami po tayong mga kababayan na nasa mga fight scenes or yung mga nasa crowd, di ba po? So whenever there's a chance na makausap ko po sila, tinatanong ko, kumusta naman kayo? Okay ba naman ang kondisyon nyo? Ang sasabihin nila sa akin, okay naman ma'am, na walang kagana-gana. So sabi ko, there's something wrong. Sabi ko, ba't hindi nyo sabihin sa akin, baka makatulong ako sa inyo. Tapos ang sabi nila, ma'am, pag hindi po kami nakuhanan ng camera, kahit po mag-umaga, nandoon kami, ilang araw na po kami, hindi po kami sinasweldohan kasi hindi po kami nakunan. I was really saddened, tapos sabi ko, ganun pala. Very vocal ako dun sa director at saka sa producer. Sabi ko, I would like to change the living conditions of my Filipinos here. I think it started from there na I felt for them, I cry with them. So sabi ko, I have to do something. I think that's the first step na naramdaman kong I have to be with the OFWs. 20 years ago, I started my television, I started my advocacy for the OFWs. Nandun po yung medical mission, scholarship, meron po tayong elementary school na dinonate, meron po tayong mga church renovation, meron po tayong mga prosthetic leg, yung mga cancer patients, mga pandemic quick response, pati po sa mga ITAS. Tinutulungan po natin yan taon-taon. We have the Pamaskong Handog para po sa ating mga OFWs yearly. We have the Impact Awards. We have the Mr. and Miss Citizen of the World yearly. I have done my best para sa mga kapatid nating OFWs. We want the Filipinos because they are TLC. Ano po yung TLC? Tender Loving Care. Ang kanila pong pagiging honest at hardworking. Yung pagiging, masabi po natin na knowledgeable, kahit po sa panig na mundo, marunong tayong mag-Ingles at mapagmahal po tayong tunay. Kung wala po ang mga OFWs, mahihirapan din po ang ating ekonomiya. Kaya mahalin po natin sila, tawagan natin sila. Pakita po natin sa kanila, ma, dad, inay, tatay, kuya, ate, kamusta na kayo? Yan po nangungulila sa pamilya, nalulungkot. Buti na nga lang po may social media na tayo ngayon.
Benepisyo, kalaban ng
Pabahay. Kaya po sila nag-a-abroad eh. Gusto magkaroon ng shelter eh. Gusto magkaroon ng totoong bahay ang pamilya nila. Gusto mag-ipon. Pipilitin po natin with the help of the NREA and the housing industry na maging totoo po yung pangarap nila magkabahay. Yan po yung number one. Aside from that, of course, nandiyan po yung edukasyon. Nandiyan po yung employment at saka entrepreneurship. I want you to enjoy being an OFW. Kung kayo po'y arkitekto, kayo po'y engineer, kayo po'y doctor, nurses, they are paid very well. Pero ang mga problema po natin ngayon ay sa mga household service worker or sa mga unskilled workers po natin kung saan sila po ang namamaltrato, sila po ang naaabuso, sila po ang nagiging biktima ng human trafficking. Yan po ang ating nilaunch with President Duterte sa ating anti-trafficking OFW movement kung saan nangako po tayo na we have to stop human trafficking. Ang gusto ko rin po magkaroon ng monitoring 24 hours sa ating mga OFWs. Kung may monitoring po tayo dyan, malalaman natin kung ano nangyayari sa kanila. Meron na po tayong connectivity. Magkaroon ng OFW Regional Office na doon na po magrereklamo, magpapatulong ang ating mga kababayan. Hindi pupunta pa sa Maynila para magreklamo, magpatulong. Yun po yung mga pinapangarap po natin na sana, bigyan naman po tayo ng pagkakataon. Sa ating mga overseas, local and abroad, sa ating pong mga manggagawa at mga pamilya. Kami po ay humihingi ng inyong suporta. Number 49, OFW Party List. Samahan niyo po kami. Sama-sama po tayo para sa mga bagong bayani. Sama-sama po tayong babangon muli. Ate Marisa Del Mar. Maraming salamat po. At kami rin po ay bumabati po sa inyo ang aming pong Chairman, Second Nominee, Jerry Alfante. Kasama po ang buong miyembro po at grupo po ng Number 49 OFW Party List.
Okay, thank you, sponsors. And now, let me introduce to you our second speaker in behalf of Architect Giselle F. Prado, the NRIA Secretary General. Our second speaker is a graduate of University of Santo Tomas with a bachelor's degree in architecture, holding 2 diploma certificates, diploma on shelter design and development from Land University in Land, Sweden, and infrastructure of low-income urban housing from the Water Engineering Center, Leicestershire University, England. She has a master's degree on government management from the Pamantasan Lungsod ng Maynila. More than 39 years of experience in housing development, she is an expert in innovative housing technologies and low-income infrastructure. The profession became a passion in 2014. Architect Bet Regala was elected as the 24th National President of the United Architects of the Philippines, or UAP, and the only fourth Lady President. She difficultly served the organization for 2 years by endorsing its advocacies and backing up the needs of architecture profession. The later being the social responsibility arm of the UAP, emphasized the role of architects in sustainable community development. The Professional Regulation Commission conferred her as ASEAN architect among the first 40 other architects in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Architect Maria Beth O. Regala, FUAP, ASEAN architect.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to your president, Ronnie Biando, for inviting me to this venue today during your business meeting. This morning, I would like to present to you the housing situation in the Philippines and some of my insights based on my experience in the housing agency, the National Housing Authority. Is there hope to bridge the housing backlog? My presentation would include a briefer on the socialized housing, where are we now, some government initiatives focused on NHA projects, some gaps in policy and implementation, the subsidy framework, land use and density, and then some recommendations. Let me walk you through the National Urban Development and Housing Framework Plan for the planning period 2017 to 2022. I believe that this framework plan is very important as it addresses the need for an overall framework for policy and strategy based on a clear urban development vision. It also is a guide to improve the country's urban systems. And it involves several policy statements, strategies, and implementation measures to guide all efforts for sustainable urban development and housing. Ultimately, it is aimed at achieving the objectives of the Urban and Development and Housing Act, the RA 7279. The National Urban Development and Housing Framework focuses on more inclusive urban spaces, more open, connected, and resilient communities, as well as on the role of urbanization in creating equitable growth. Its vision include better, greener, smarter urban spaces and an inclusive Philippines through the participatory approach, the universal access to livelihood, enabling informal sectors, and recognizing the importance of the rural-urban linkages and integration. The NUDHF strategies for urban design and planning include the strengthening of the DDRM and the CCA planning and integrated reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. It also aims to promote networks of public open spaces and maximize them for social equality. It is also designed to plan barangays in terms of human scale and walkability, shift to people-oriented mobility instead of the car-centric developments that we see today. The strategies for housing, however, include that housing development must be culturally sensitive and must address the needs of the elderly, the indigenous peoples, and other so-called marginalized groups. It also aims to provide security of tenure for urban settlers, both formal and informal. Also making land available and accessible for housing, the creation of climate resilient and affordable housing, and promote citizen participation in local shelter planning, housing, and land strategies. So there are 6 key principles embodied in this document. One is urbanization as a catalyst for inclusive growth, climate change resilience as a base for spatial structuring and sectoral development, spatially and thematically integrated settlements, a society that is physically and spatially and functionally connected, urban areas as accessible platforms, social interaction, cultural expression, innovation are encouraged, people's participation and empowerment, and sustainable urban environment. So there are factors contributing to the growing housing problem in the Philippines, one of which, or foremost of which, is the rapid population growth rate and a projection of 2 million increased population every year. By 2040, it is projected that there will be 141.70 million Filipinos. And secondly, the fast tempo of urbanization. In 2015, it was already determined that 51.2% live in urban areas, while 56.3% in 2030, and by 2050, it will be 65.6% living in urban areas. Thirdly, the increasing number of informal settler families are also a cause or a factor that contribute to the growing housing problem. There's a positive cause of effect of urbanization and the informal settlements. As of 2017, it is estimated that 70% of the Philippines' total urban population comprise the ISFs, approximately 1.9 million. Of course, the adverse impact of climate change and other natural calamities is also a very critical factor. We all know that there are typhoons. We are being visited by typhoons 20 to 26 times a year, not counting earthquakes and volcano eruptions, as well as man-made calamities, such as the siege in Zamboanga, for example, and the Marawi siege in Mindanao. According to the Philippine Statistical Research and Training Institute, for the planning period 2017 to 2022, there is a housing need of 6.57 million units. And by 2040, it will reach to 22.61 units, broken down into the accumulated need for the informal sector and the future recurrent need or the formal sector repair and replacement. So where are we now? Let's take a quick overview or a quick review of the socialized or the housing sector in general. So let us look at the facts from NEDA, from Pag-ibig Fund, from SHEDA, and the Philippine Statistics Authority. NEDA says that 52% live in unacceptable housing and will most likely be affected by government infrastructure and calamities. Fact number 2, in 2018 study, the SHEDA produced the new housing need for 2012 to 2030, whereby only 25% of the market can afford 400,000 ceiling loan and below, and the 23% cannot afford it, needing subsidy from the government. Fact number 3, from the PSA, family expense is more than family income for those with monthly income of 100,000 and below. And fact number 4, the expenditure pattern of the bottom 30% and the upper 70%, which allocates house rental value on average, would be from 7.7% for the low income, lowest 30%, and 12.2% for the upper 70% for the house rentals of the household expenditures. So here is the report of the Department of human settlements and urban development. And it says here that based on the Philippine Development Plan, 79% of direct housing provision had been achieved over the past several years, from 2016 to 2021 November. So you will see that NHA, which has a direct, which is the production arm of the government, has 62% accomplishment, and while Pag-ibig Fund has 116%, and the SHFC has 35%, and this HGC, I think, has 180%, for a total average of 79%, with the NHMFC contributing 122% of indirect housing provision. Okay, today's overview, creating the balance. What do I mean when we create the balance? We look at the reality, which is socialized housing is budget and numbers driven. And amidst these challenges, burgeoning population, disaster resilience, climate change, green solutions, accessibility, affordability, the clamor for livelihood opportunities, health and gender issues, the high cost of development, availability of suitable land, fund sourcing, and the pandemic. So therefore, we must respond. The response should be, we must meet new challenges and our customer needs through innovative technologies and approaches and shifting of the policy and program interventions. Hence, we need a paradigm shift. Some government initiatives, I would just like to show you some off-city projects of NHA in Baras and in Pandi, Bulacan, which is typical of a resettlement site that NHA had been developing over the years, with a monthly amortization of 200 to 300 pesos per month for a maximum of 30 years. There are also other rental housing projects in collaboration with the LGU of Valenzuela and NHA, and this one is in Disciplina Village, a 3-story low-rise building, considered one of the most successful since the LGU is managing it directly. So some other housing typologies would be the 3 to 5-story in-city low-rise buildings with a monthly amortization of 600 to 1,500 for a maximum period, again, of 30 years. Now, let me just show you some implications of housing on the health of communities. Even before the pandemic, there has been several studies which would show that overcrowding can have a negative impact on mental health. It particularly affects low-income households, with the health outcomes taking the form of depression, sleep deprivation, fatigue, and family discord, according to several authors. But then some questions need to be asked. What were the objectives when these projects were planned and implemented? Let's take, for example, Typhoon Yolanda. When Typhoon Yolanda hit us in 2013, the production target was so huge, it aimed to produce 205,000 housing units for Typhoon Yolanda victims in 2 years' time. That is the production target. And then to design and build house and lot packages worth 200,000 per unit. And then to dispose 75% of all new inventories created for the year as its disposition target. So I want to pose some questions here. Why not these project objectives to answer the critical issues affecting housing? Why not answer disaster resilience? Why not answer poverty incidence? And why not answer the issues on gender and health? On disaster response, we can design self-sufficient and disaster-resilient housing, and to build on the poverty incidence or the affordability and the poverty issue, to build facilities that will generate income and provide the basic needs of the community. As to gender and health, we must formulate gender and health sensitive spaces within the neighborhood and inside homes. The more recent Typhoon Odette had left Dinagat Islands in Caraga region with 14,000 houses totally damaged according to its provincial information officer. No? So there are three issues that need to be discussed: poverty, disaster, health, and safety. I have asked my students in the University of the Philippines College of Architecture to do some research and to do some analysis of the situation, and they have come up with some of these things, no? The resilient housing. And on top of these issues would be poverty, disaster, health and safety, and then I would like to include gender and health, no? We can come up with resilient housing through sturdy building materials, to design interventions, the food and water supply through the provision of basic services, and the protection from safety and security issues. Because I believe resilient housing should not only speak of the physical, in terms of the physical aspect, but we must also be resilient in terms of the social, cultural, and economic aspects of communities. So some strategic recommendations, no? Land use and density can be used as tools in the formulation of a mixed income, mixed use development at the community or neighborhood level, if not on the regional scale. We must introduce design intervention measures to address the community needs specific to the locality and the culture of the people, including gender and health issues, as well as food security. And then the creation of an enabling financing policy intervention that should support and promote market segmentation across all incomes and equitable provision of subsidies based on income affordability. So having said all that, let us look now at the comparative analysis of land use and density. Comparing two different building typologies, a 1 to 2 story building and medium to high-rise buildings, the higher the building, the more units can be generated. The density of a 1-story row house is at 140 units per hectare, while a 6-story building would yield 600 or more units per hectare. However, the non-saleable open space requirement of 30% minimum will increase on the account of the required distance between buildings and setback requirements. Medium to high-rise buildings will require 50% open space and 50% buildable space on the average. This would actually provide the community more green spaces for the playground, garden, and recreational spaces, while community facilities can be integrated in the medium to high-rise buildings. For example, multipurpose centers, daycare centers, the health center, homeowners association offices can be put at the second floor or at the ground floor, while all the residential units can be on the upper floors. Now, let me just present to you the triple mix. This is a term that I have coined myself, and it is, I think, I am proposing this business model. No, I've talked about a lot about this in some of my lectures and some of my speaking engagements, and I believe that if we can just try and do some formulation, then perhaps this could work. No, let's start with a mixed use. For bigger tracts of land, land use as a tool can generate different models for a more balanced housing development to include areas for neighborhood commercial activities, institutional recreational uses, and urban farming as well. For smaller lots, high-density housing with commercial units and or community facilities may be integrated in the buildings. Mixed income levels. The mixed-use housing development will naturally cater to the different income levels of the market, as it will provide entrepreneurs, small business enterprises, space for the economic activities, at the same time provide livelihood to the community. Mixed finance. The private sector will be encouraged to invest as they see it as a profitable venture with the government and the communities. Building up the community's equity share through cooperatives or savings program can be done with the help of the NGOs and microfinancing institutions. So what are the benefits of the triple mix? turn to private capital to develop quality housing that can compete with other housing options available to low-income households. It also increases the opportunities for integration of the physical, social, and economic dimensions of public housing. It stimulates neighborhood revitalization and economic development. It also increases in-house expertise of the government by attracting experienced partners, brings additional resources to the project, which can be used for gap financing and to provide market-level amenities, maximize the leveraging of other funds, both public and private, into the public housing development process. And lastly, it provides opportunities for partnering with not-for-profit like community associations and organizations and for-profit organizations like developers and realtors or builders that have been successfully working in inner city neighborhood for years. Now let me show you some design intervention with regard to the mixed income, mixed use scheme at the household level. You would note that this one was a project, or this was a presentation made by two of my students, and they did 4 models in one cluster of a building. You would note that there are 6 clusters here with 4 units each on each cluster, with a mini balcony and garden, as well as a crop planter on the center. So it addresses the urban farming. It also addresses the privacy and safety, as well as the mixed income, no? Because there are several models here, then it will cater to different income levels, no? So here's a closer look. They have provided a 25 square meter unit area, a 45 square meter unit, and a 60 square meter unit area in one building. So there's a mixed use and a mixed income, no? Mixed income, I mean. Some other design interventions that were presented by my students would be on gender issue, no? When you separate the bathing area and the toilet, it makes it more flexible and to have to accommodate more users at the same time, no? 2 people can use the toilet and bath, no, by just putting one partition. And then another design intervention with regard to economic housing would be the provision of these mercantile spaces. Such mercantile spaces could also vary, like the sari-sari store, the bakery, a barber shop or salon, the eatery or laundry or water station, and others, no? And some other designers on the left side of the screen, you would see some disaster resilient features such as the storm shutters, no, which doubles up to cover the glass windows, no, to lessen the pressure during a storm. Now, another typhoon shelter or another concept from a student would be a typhoon shelter concept, no? You would note that he placed here a sort of a bomb shelter at the back of the house, wherein it is solidly built, no? It is the strongest part of the house, and it has so small windows and a concrete roofing to disregard the worry of flying roofs. The housing, however, has a typically slanted roofing or GI sheets. You'll note that these are all concepts from young people that I would like to show you, because a little revision here and there would make this really feasible, no, for any housing project, and most especially for disaster-stricken areas, no? Okay, some other design interventions on the neighborhood level, a disaster response outpost design, which included immediate medical care rooms, a first aid response, storage room for inflatable life rafts, life jackets, go bag kits, and emergency response equipment. There's also a monitoring area of CCTV of the entire housing site. On the right side of your screen, you would see naman the rain catchment facility, which will act as a community well for residents to gather clean water, treats and purifies collected rainwater from storm drains into potable water for the community. So you will see that design interventions such as these can really make our housing sites more interesting and more livable. So some recommendations for the government, no? Promote market segmentation to determine the appropriate housing programs that should be pursued for each of the income levels of target beneficiaries, and not the one-size-fits-all model, particularly for the informal settlers. Some of the so-called ISFs have the capacity to pay more than the 200 to 300 monthly amortization based on survey. Government also must create an enabling environment for the private sector to engage in housing investment program by setting policies on financing such that these projects ensure the returns to the private sector, while the private sector must also do its share by not being too profit-oriented. Another recommendation will be to formulate a business model or template to implement financially feasible programs and projects, such as the one that I have presented to you, the proposed triple mix, and to come up with a common subsidy framework among housing agencies, which will be equitable in terms of amortization and interest payment based on income and affordability levels of the clients. The department can also determine scalability and adaptability of the developed policy in the housing sector, in the resettlement, socialized, and affordable housing projects across the housing sector under its monitoring and supervision. In ending, I would like to encourage the NAREA to recommend these policy changes and or innovations to the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and for the private sector to try to formulate the appropriate housing mix or combination of incomes to make this proposal work. By initiating this course of action together, both public and private institutions in the housing sector, we may find that elusive solution to reduce the increasing housing need in our country for a better tomorrow, a better Philippines for all. Thank you, and thank you once again for the opportunity to make this presentation.
In life, we are always in search of something better. Better jobs, better lifestyle, better investments. Here at Forest Lake, we offer you an alternative, an extraordinary, and a better experience through My Forest Lake portal. Our online portal gives you access to viewing and purchasing of memorial lots safely and conveniently from your home. It provides a place where you can centralize the management of your memorial lot investments with easy access to customer information and services. Registering in My Forest Lake is easy. Just follow these 3 easy steps. Creating a new account is simple. Go to www.forestlakememorialparks.com. Click on Customers on the upper right corner of the site and you will be directed to the My Forest Lake customer portal. Step 1. Click the link and fill out the form or register using your Facebook account by simply clicking on Login with Facebook. Step 2. Input necessary details as needed. And click Next. Step 3. Verify your mobile phone or registered email. Congratulations! You have successfully registered your account. Enjoy a faster, easier, and more secure way of managing your Forest Lake investment at the palm of your hands. View and purchase lots within the safety and comfort of your home. Take advantage of online services exclusive to registered customers. No more long lines when paying your dues. You can now pay through our secure payment options and documented online transactions. You can even chat with our customer service representatives for any concerns. Convenient, right? For inquiries, email us at customerportal@forestlakeparks.com or contact our branch office. Sign up now and start enjoying a better online experience now with Forest Lake. Visit www.forestlakememorialparks.com or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Sign up today and start your investment journey with Forest Lake.
Okay, thank you to our speakers, Attorney Ronel U. Benaventura and Architect Benita O. Regala, FUAP, ASEAN Architect, for giving us AMLC and NHA real estate updates and insights. We now turn over the program to our moderators for the open forum of our business meeting. So let me introduce to you one of our moderators for today. He is the chairman of Surewell Equities, Inc., and a board advisor of Enria. He is the director of iRemit, Inc., Sterling Bank of Asia, a savings bank, Blaya Yoshea Properties, Inc., Combes Investment, Inc., and the owner of Camp Netanya Resort and Spa. He is also the first board member of the Professional Regulatory Board of Real Estate Services with RSB, RSA, RSC with PRC registration number 0000002. Let's all welcome Mr. Banson C. Choa.
Okay, so along with our first moderator, Mr. Bansan Choa, we also have Mr. Marcelino Mendoza, who is a socialized housing advocate. He is currently the chairman of the board of the Organization of Socialized and Economic Housing Developers Association of the Philippines and has served as private sector representative to the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, president of the Subdivision and Housing Developers Association, and president of Camela Homes. Ladies and gentlemen, we both welcome our two moderators for today.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Umpisa na natin. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for the nice presentation of the IMLC. Attorney, we'll just have two simple questions for IMLC. Okay. The first question is, as of today, how many brokers have registered and how many developers have registered? And have you issued any permanent registration, or up to today is still provisional registration certificate pa lang ang nai-issue?
Okay, sir. Thank you for the question, Sir Banson. For the total registered real estate brokers, we have already 3,942 as of today. For the real estate developers, we have 1,643 registered real estate developers. For the certificate of registration, I understand this is already being processed. So may I ask, with me is our registration staff, just to confirm as to the status of the registration of all of the real estate brokers and developers. Mr. Conrad Bulanadi, sir, can you, a colleague from AMLC, can you confirm as to the question on the registered provisional certificate of registration, sir?
Thank you, Attorney Ronel. Sir, yung na-mention pong figures ni Attorney Ronel is it composed na po of those registered real brokers, real estate brokers and real estate developers with the status po na provisional and for some po completed. No? So it's a total na po. No? Marami pa rin po are provisionally registered, and some of the real estate brokers and developers already completed the registration. Based on the 2021 AML-CFT guidelines for designated non-financial business and profession, this is the sector where real estate brokers and developers are classed. Ang requirement lang naman po for them to complete the registration is to submit po the other documentary requirements enumerated in the guidelines. Ito po yung applicable documents po, no? For developers, yung business permit or mayor's permit, proof of attendance in AML training and NBI clearance for its directors and principal officers. For the real estate brokers, hindi naman po applicable yung business permit kasi naging covered person po sila as individual, being an individual. So yung proof of attendance in an AML training as well as their NBI clearance. So that's our, ito po yung mga requirement for the REB and the REDs po, no, to complete their registration with the AMLC. Thank you, sir.
So thank you for the update. No? That's not the real question. The real question of most of the developer and the broker is, it is very hard to comply with all of your requirements. That's why if you notice, broker registered with PRC as of today should be somewhere like 38 to 39,000. But practically you only have 3,000 plus lang. And one of the basic complaints that they have, most of the broker are individuals. Be an individual, you don't have the corporate structure that you're asking for. In your guideline, you ask them to have somebody, aside from the broker itself, to be the assistant, to do record keeping, and also to have facility to be able to detect suspicious transaction. If you notice, for us to be able to do suspicious transaction, we should be able to have all of the hardware and the software requirement to check who is now considered a suspicious person. Yun ang medyo nahihirapan mag-intindi ang mga broker. I have been in contact with most of them because I used to be a board member in PRC on PRB Res. And this is the number one complaint that they have. Ang capital nila is maybe only laway lang. But they don't have real capital invest in software, hardware, and even to have capital to invest in manpower. So I really do not know how to reconcile for them to be able to comply with the requirement of AMLA. Maybe is it possible for you to come up with a different requirement for different type of people? Maybe for developer, baka okay, kasi nga may mga structure yan eh. Pero for broker, it might be hard to comply with the same requirement that you're asking for doon sa mga broker. Yun ang first question. Now, I have discussed this personally with Attorney Racela. Okay, and I've already submitted the manual that we propose to come up with an industry manual. I do not know, Attorney, if you're familiar with that. No? I submitted that about more than a month ago, and there's another girl that is in contact with us right now to try to finalize something that is workable for the entire industry. Kasi you are requiring also that each and everyone should submit a manual of their own. But an industry manual approved by AMLC or even approved by a Department of Human Settlement might lessen the burden dun sa mga broker and also to some of the developers. Yun lang ang 2 items that would like to take care. Then I can give it to my partner na, sa aking boss, si Mars, to ask you the next question.
Okay, sir, can I respond first to your 2 questions? So for the first question, I think you are asking for any possible reconciliation with respect to how real estate brokers can comply with what is required under the guidelines. And the second would be on the issue of industry-wide MTPP that would be applied to all real estate brokers. So for the first question, sir, of course, we recognize that we already have the law, we already have the guidelines. So insofar as whether real estate brokers will comply or not is no longer an issue with respect to AML or CTF rules and regulations, because they are already covered. There's already a law. We already have the guidelines. With respect to whether the EMLC can be flexible enough to accommodate certain realities on the ground, of course, we are open to that. However, we need at least a proposal, perhaps a proposal we can work with. Give us a proposal and we can study it. There has been no formal, very formal, of course, I know this one may be considered a formal request, but there has been no formal or at least a general industry request for the AMLC, formal request, so we can act on it and give us some alternative, give us some proposal so we can study. Of course, right now, our basis is the guidelines, which is applicable to all covered persons, all the NFBPs, designated non-financial businesses and professions, to which we categorize the real estate brokers. Now, if you see that there are rules and regulations that would be very difficult, if not cumbersome or impossible for the real estate sector to comply, at least inform us formally, give us the justification, give us alternatives so we can study that. And we can issue accordingly the rules, if necessary, to amend our rules or to issue a separate rules for the DNFBPs. Of course, we are welcome. We want to partner, we want to help the covered persons, the real estate sector to comply with our AML CTF framework. Now, with respect to the issue on, or the question on the MTPP, industry-wide MTPP, we have, I acknowledge that we have received that already. The AMLC is currently reviewing the draft MTPP, which was submitted to us. We wish to emphasize, however, that there is no one-size-fits-all MTPP. As we may have read in the guidelines, the policies and procedures established by each sector or entity must be tailored fit to address the money laundering and terrorism financing risks and vulnerabilities of each institution, and controls must be appropriate to the size of the institution. Of course, detailed policies and procedures embodied in the MTPP must be anchored in the results of the institutional risk assessment, which identifies the ML or TF risk of an entity of its customers or its businesses, products, and services. So currently we are reviewing it. So again, currently we're reviewing it. We'll be reverting with you on our results of our review of the draft MTPP, as well as the request on a industry-wide MTPP. Thank you, sir.
Boss Mars, no? Can I just say something, Attorney? Have you received the actual compilation of the book on BP 220 revised IRR together with the proposed NTPP?
As far as we know, I think we have not received that, sir.
Anyway, I sent a set to Attorney Rosella, and yesterday I sent another set to a girl named Carla.
Okay, sir. We'll check with that.
Paki-check na lang.
Okay.
The basis of our request is what we did in 2008 when SLURB approved the revised IRR for BP 220. And that became an industry standard that is applicable to all housing projects from 2008 until now.
Okay,
So
sir.
yun ang ginawa namin basis. That's why I send you an original copy. Wala na nga kaming copy ng original. Buti na lang. We have some. And I sent a copy to Attorney Rosella and also to Girl Carla.
Okay,
So
sir.
maybe pakitignan nyo lang. Maybe that will work because that will already give everybody a less burden as to one of the requirements para ma-comply nila yung full registration nila. Sige.
Okay, sir. This is noted, sir, and we'll look into that. Thank you.
Boss Mars, ikaw na.
Yeah, good morning everyone, no? Yeah, maganda yung first sentence ni Architect Beth. Is there hope to bridge the housing backlog? Well, I think yes, because we in the industry are optimistic, but we just have to work for that, no? Also, she proposed the triple mix. I like that, and I personally would like to endorse that to the NAREA board for that to be advanced and recommended to the SUD. No, we need continuing conversations on how to solve this housing situation. Now, we have some questions here, Architect Beth, and I think this is tailor-made for you.
Yeah.
The first question is basically from Jeffrey Chung. No, the question is, what are the Filipino cultural behaviors that contribute positively or negatively to the delivery of housing in the Philippines? And related to that, there is a second question by Gary Lasorata. Can you advise or suggest that standard that housing should be 3 bedrooms? Because if you see the housing now, the free housing now for special typhoon housing, it's too small. When a couple has a son and a daughter, they sleep together. So basically that is the comment, and maybe you can give in your recommendation on this.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mendoza Mars. No, I think there are many positive cultural behaviors or values that the Filipino has. No, kasi alam nyo, when given the opportunity to be involved and to be organized, they can actually do it themselves. No, they can be empowered with the right information. The correct information is actually critical, and their participation is also likewise critical in the success of any housing project. So having said that, marami ho kasing kailangan merong trust between government and the clients and the beneficiaries, no? Kasi nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng trust issues later on when expectations are not met. So on the part of government, dapat naman kasi tama yung sinasabing impormasyon right away, no? Like for example, yung water and power, laging yan ang problema sa mga resettlement sites. Dapat laging sinasabi na hindi pa kayo magkakaroon kaagad ng power dahil merong policy ang Meralco na dapat 75% occupied bago sila ma-energize, no? Katulad din ng tubig, no? Kaya yung expectation setting among beneficiaries should always be set right, no? Kasi pagka hindi mo sinabi agad sa kanila, then people are really going to complain. And rightly so, no? Kailangan mag-complain talaga sila dahil hindi nga tama yun. But on the other hand naman, there are negative cultural values or behavior, no, that our Filipino people or the low income perhaps, or maybe not even the higher income din minsan, no, yung changes in the lifestyle patterns and habits of Filipinos. Yun lang pong magtapon ng tamang basura, no? Yung mag-segregate lamang ng basura at the household level.
Not all of us are doing that, di ba? But it's needed for climate change, disaster resilience, etc. and for sanitation as well, especially during the pandemic. So ano sila and some other negative things would be siguro yung binibenta nila yung mga rights nila, no? And I think that could be addressed through values formation, which can take decades talaga. It's so hard to change the values of people. Talagang yun po ang pinakamahirap. But sabi ko nga, there's always hope, no? But with the right information and pagtutulungan ng mga kapwa Pilipino, and we must always engage in true and genuine, inclusive and integrative community building. Kasi yung sinasabi nating inclusive, minsan inclusive lang sila pero for example, inclusive ka ba kung hindi ka naman kasama sa housing project na to, nandun ka sa masamang lugar, no? Hindi magandang lugar. Tapos sabihin natin inclusive, laging sinasabi kailangan tulungan yung mahirap. Pero ano ba yung tamang pagtulong sa mahirap? Hindi ba yung pag-akay mo sa kanya sa progressive or sa progresibong komunidad? Kaya ako sinasabi yung triple mix kasi kailangan yung mixed income, ano? Yung may combination, yung big brother, big brother and little brother or big sister, big little sister. Kumbaga akayin natin sila. Katulad nung sinasabi ni Mr. Lorosata ba yun, na bakit hindi natin sila bigyan ng 3 bedrooms? No, that is exactly what I'm saying na we cannot give them a one-size-fits-all model. Like, because there are many other household types, no? A household can be 1 person. A household can be 2 persons, a married couple, no? A household can be 4 members or 6 members or 10 members. Kaya ang sinasabi ko dito, hindi pwedeng siguro kailangan tingnan natin kung paano tayo mag-deliver ng housing project na merong mixed ang income levels at merong ima-match natin sa household type. So yung 2 bedrooms for a couple, maybe 1 bedroom for a startup couple, no? Kaya hindi rin naman natin pwedeng sabihin 3 bedrooms para sa lahat, no? Kasi para din yan yung 1 bedroom for all. So yun lang po yung ano ko, no? Those are my observations during the past, decades of service. Kaya yun siguro ang masasabi ko po. Yun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Beth.
Mars, I just wanted to ask something to architect.
Yep.
Okay. I think the real solution to housing backlog is not to provide more houses, but to make sure that they are near the place they were working. If you notice, most of the time during long weekend or Christmas break or summer break, practically you don't have people in the urban areas because most of them have their houses in the provinces. But the real reason that they go into the urban area is because the job is there. If you notice in other countries, the job in the factory, they always have dormitory. And that applies not only to Hong Kong, to Singapore, to China, or even other countries, no? Because it's not practical for them to travel. Like, for example, in our case in Metro Manila now, for you to travel from Cavite or to Bulacan, to Makati or to Manila, it will take you at least one way, 2.5 hours. Balikan 5 hours of unproductive time. So is it not better to come up with rental housing or dormitory in an urban area with a limited sizes, smaller sizes, at iparentahan na lang? Instead of traveling from one place to another. That's why my ano is there are 3 big problems kasi on the housing backlog. We wanted to transfer them into a location that they do not have a job there. They do not also have the facilities. Now we cannot blame the local government people. They're given budget to transfer them. But the biggest expense is not the transfer. Is this the daily maintenance? You have to have security, you have to have health services, you have to have other social services like schools, hospitals, which
Yeah.
are not provided after they are transferred.
If I may po, if I may, if you look at my presentation, yun po yung eksaktong sinasabi ko, that we need to create self-sufficient communities. And if we cannot do that vertically, or we cannot do that horizontally, which creates the urban sprawl, then we have to go up na. Kasi in the urban areas, there is already a lack of suitable land. And mapakamahal na po ng lupa, di po ba? Maski po ang gobyerno, nahihirapan po maghanap na ng mga lupa sa loob ng Metro Manila. Kaya nga po, the proposal is for us to create projects that would integrate all the services, maybe perhaps in one building, no? So that hindi naman po pwedeng, but of course, hindi naman po lahat ng facility pwede nating ilagay. So that we will come up with a priority list of the community needs, no? Kung ano ba po ba yung kailangan nila, kung meron pong, halimbawa po, may palengke po ba sa ilalim, commercial stalls of small stores, merong clinic sa second floor, and then all the upper floors. But the only problem there po, sir, is people from the low income market, no? They don't really know how to live in condominium type of housing. Kaya kailangan din po ng training. Kasi in our experience with our medium rise, which is actually 5-story buildings, marami pong nagiging problema dyan. Even yung mga bata po, even the design should be child-friendly, like yung mga balustre po, yung mga balcony. They should not have grills that people or children can go up, no? Yung parang pwede nilang tapakan. Kailangan maingat din po tayo sa mga design, like yung po mga jalousie windows, bumabagsak po sa baba, pagka pangit ang pagkakakabit. So marami pong pag-aaral, pero ang isinasabi ko lang po dito, meron po tayong pwedeng gawain, design-wise and financial-wise, financing-wise, and of course, yung creativity po ng public sector and the private sector. Kailangan po magtulungan. Kasi yung nga po, napakalaki po ng problema, pero tingnan nyo po hanggang ngayon, di naman nakakaya ng gobyerno talaga. Kasi in the Philippine Development Plan po, 1.3 million po yung target ng gobyerno. And as of November 2021, it's 79%. But the housing backlog is 6.5 million, almost 6.7 yata, 6.57 million for the same planning period. So, yun nga po. So we need to work together. And what I'm proposing is just one solution. It will not solve everything, but perhaps for a better housing facility po for our people, baka pwede po natin pag-isipan yun. No? Lang po.
That's why yung presentation niya is very good. No? That's why ang ano nga ng private sector, the government side should also listen and come up with a joint project.
Yes.
Kasi ang nangyayari ngayon is the government have their own project, private sector have their own project.
Yes.
But both of them should be working together. It should not be the responsibility only of the private sector, lalo na they were being tied out because of the price ceiling. Kasi the price ceiling will not be able to solve the housing backlog.
Yes po.
Kasi syempre, sino bang tao ang gustong malugi? So that's why if you notice for the past so many years, socialized housing just become a compliance issue na lang. Kasi they don't really make money. And at the same time, pagkatapos mo, sino magmamanage? The biggest problem is not the giving them the houses. Tama ho kayo. It's the management after it is turned over to them.
Yes.
Now, yung mga problema sa design, those can be easily addressed. Kasi alam naman ng mga architect, alam ng mga engineers, ano ang possible na pwedeng mangyari lalo na sa mga bata. Alam mo, even in other countries, may nahuhulog na sa bintana. Di ba? But sometimes these are called accident. Pero ang proposal nga natin is to come up with a design that will prevent accident to happen.
Yes po.
But accident will always happen kahit na anong prevention ang gawin ng isang lakay. Yun lang ang ano namin. I think the message that we'd like to convey is the private sector is willing to help the government side, but the government have to also understand the predicament of the private sector. It is not that we do not want to help, but it is just making it too hard for the private sector to help participate in decreasing the housing backlog.
I understand completely. I agree po totally. And being former government official, naintindihan ko po kayo at siguro mas naintindihan ko nga po nung umalis na ako sa gobyerno. But syempre nagkaroon po tayo ng syempre ibang perspective, when you get out of that of the inner and you parang looking in, outward looking in, so mas maganda po siguro. And kaya po yung I recommend nga po sana, if the private sector, you as the private sector can do some formulas, yung pag-aralan po ninyo yung yung business model na yan na pinipresent ko, maybe a combination of the socialized and the economic housing or the affordable housing, baka pwede pong pagsamahin. And engage nyo po ang Department of Housing, ang Department and the SHUD, para po rin po sila sa inyo, matulungan kayo kung paano po yung mga financing issues po natin ma-resolve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Architect Beth. There is a question here from Ms. Frances Jimeno. Maybe Attorney Buenaventura can clarify the seminar that is required for brokers to take, and also is it possible that this business forum be part of the requirement, accredited as compliance to your requirement, and can be issued a seminar certificate? Attorney Ronel?
Sir, okay. Sir Mars, for the requirement, for the webinar requirement, we require AMLA or AMLC CTF fundamentals for the registration. We have monthly webinars for that, so they can sign up. The schedule of the webinars are posted in the AMLC website. If they cannot attend those webinars, either because of conflict of schedule or if the slots are already filled out, we have several sessions where we had more than 1,000 participants or registrants. If they cannot, we have accredited AML providers or AML training providers, so they can avail of those providers. However, of course, those providers are not free, so they have to pay. But our webinars posted in the AMLC website, the schedules are posted in the AMLC website, are free. For this webinar, sir, I apologize, we cannot, this one is not sponsored by the AMLC. We were invited as a guest speaker only for this webinar. Had we been co-presenter or co-organizer, we could have issued and accredited this beforehand. So at least we could have made such an arrangement and ask for the approval of the executive director or the council if necessary. So yun po. Siguro po in future webinar offering or future sessions po, we can have a collaboration wherein we can accredit the webinar as well as the trainings that we provide. So we can issue necessary certificates for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bansan will arrange for that.
Ikaw, idol, anyway, part of our request, I think, I don't know if you have seen the letter, attorney. No? Maybe if you want, you can send me a copy, your Viber or your email. I can send you a copy of what I was sent. Okay, now, it was part of our request, if it's possible, since the broker are under PRC, under the PRB res, that lecturer of PRB res be allowed to lecture about AMLC as part of the compliance of PRC on CPD. Maybe they have to be trained. Not everybody, only accredited PRC lecturers that have undergone AMLC training will be allowed to give lectures?
Okay, sir. Currently, our training accreditation guidelines is only for private sector. We have not, this would be the first time that we would be, in case we'll be having a lecturer, accredited lecturer for coming from the private sector, from the public sector. Of course, everyone is free to lecture on money laundering as well as terrorism financing. But whether it will be accredited by the AMLC or recognized, it's a different matter. Perhaps we will coordinate with the PRBRES on this. This is a good proposal. At least the real estate brokers and developers can avail of this training if this will push through. We'll coordinate with them and work out how we can accredit them on as lecturer so that they can themselves conduct the lecture. Of course, we need also to impose certain requirements, say, on reporting who are the participants, who were already attended, who were issued the certificate, so we can verify whenever they applied for registration, so we can cross-check our records as well. So that's a good suggestion. We'll consider that, and we'll discuss further how we can do that or operationalize that suggestion.
Attorney, just to let you know, these are private individuals. They are not public officials. That's why I said they're accredited lecturer by PRC. So they have to undergo a series of accreditation before they will be issued a certificate as a lecturer.
Sir, if that be the case, they will fall under our we have AMLC accreditation guidelines that they can apply for, that they can comply with and apply for us, our AMLC accredited lecturers as well. We have accredited trainers across different sectors. So if they want to be an accredited AMLC lecturer, they can apply po, and we will process the application subject to the compliance on the requirements.
Would it be possible pakipadala sa amin yung requirement for a lecture?
Yes, sir. We will send the guidelines after this webinar po.
The reason behind it is this, because this accredited, I think there are only about 200 accredited lecturer in PRBRES, out of the about 40,000 plus na licensed na broker, appraiser, and salesperson, and consultant. So they have been accredited and they have been renewing their license every year. Ang problema kasi every year lang, dapat every 3 years nga, But anyway, regardless of every year or every 3 years, I think they're qualified to become a lecturer and to give training, because they're giving training not only about AMLC, but everything about real estate, which requires a 15 credit hours every year for a renewal of yung mga broker. Now, kung may sasama yan as part of the requirement, then it will a bigger reach to all the broker, and that will also be a compliance para makapag-register sila sa inyo. Kasi syempre, I think I really feel bad that after several years, you're left about less than 10% lang registered.
Sir, we take note of that. There, I think, as you mentioned earlier, there are around 30,000 real estate brokers registered with the PRC. But we have to take note also that not all those registered are actually practicing in the real estate sector. That's why we are actually coordinating with the PRC on this to determine how many are the actual practitioners of the real estate in the real estate sector. Because as we know, of course, there are a lot who are either in the government or simply obtained a license on obtain a license, but it's not really practicing this. So they are not, of course, engaging in the as a real estate broker. So there's no need for them to comply with our regulations if they are not practitioners. So that's why we're coordinating with PRC. So although we have 30,000 or so registered, they are in fact not a total of 30,000 practitioners. So,
Pero I find a parang question about that. In your guideline, do you require all registered broker to register with you, or you only said only practitioner should register with you? It is not clear. It says that you are registered as a broker, then you have to register with you. So the issue as to how many is practitioner, if you interpret it, then you cannot say that, okay, I'm not practicing, I do not need to register. What happened if after a year or two, AMLC say, tapos na yung deadline for registration. Anybody that did not register, I will fine you. Are you telling us that you will not fine those that did not register because they are not practicing?
Sir, under the guidelines, the registration is for those who are intending to commence operations as a real estate broker or as a real estate developer. So if you are not intending to operate, to commence your operation as a real estate broker developer, then there's no need to register. If, however, later on, you will be engaging now as a real estate broker, you have renewed your license, you will be engaging, then you'll be falling under as a newly established or you'll be commencing newly your operations, then you need to register prior to the operations.
Yeah, Bansang, I think we should work hand in hand with AMLC to make it easy, no, for all of these regulations and seminars, so that we can help our brokers, no. Okay, there is a last question here for Architect Beth, no. The question is basically general, but yeah, the question is specific, but it can be also applying to a lot of those who did not ask questions. I have a property which I want to develop into socialized housing. That is from Alicia Espiritu. What assistance can I expect from the government? Siguro, just to enlarge this, no? There are about, well, the discussion was about 39,000 brokers, no? So many architects, so many environmental planners, no? How do you envision, Architect Beth, in your triple mix, that all of these questions about, you know, developing socialized housing, which we all want, be answered perhaps by somebody? Baka iba-iba yung programa eh. Sabi nga nyo, for example, yung subsidies, iba-iba yung programa ng mga KSAs, no? So how do these questions get to be answered, and how do professionals get to participate siguro?
Well, actually po, if as a professional, no, as a practitioner, perhaps ano po, pwede po silang gumawa muna ng mga, if they are into feasibility studies, they could actually do some pencil pushing in using the property, no? And an appraisal would also be useful, appraisal of the property, so that we know the value of the land, no? And also, best indicator po if the property would sell would be the rental rates within the locality. For example, if the rental rates there per month would a willing renter would rent for 3,000 pesos per month, then perhaps that area could also sell with a monthly amortization of 3,000. Hindi po ba? Kasi the best indicator of affordability in the area is the rental rates there. But yung question po with regard to how can government help you, I think there are some incentives din, ano, when I think for BOI
has incentives.
Yes, for the Board of Investments for the socialized housing sector. Actually, hindi na nga ho yata for the socialized lang yan eh. For the housing sector in general na yan. Ano?
Socialized and economic
Yes,
architect.
socialized and economic housing na. Meron ng incentives ang Board of Investments dyan. And there are tax ano ba, yung mga tax incentives din po, like yung mga VAT, no? Yung VAT exemption,
Free.
VAT free ka kung you're doing socialized housing. Those are the incentives of government, no? But if you are intending to build your property or develop your property, you can tie up with a private developer and offer this to the housing agency. Like for example po, ang NHA, they have a lot of programs like the resettlement or the AFP-PNP or the government employees housing. These are the market, no, that they cater to right now. The government employees housing like the AFP-PNP, pwede rin po doon mag-cater yung property, no? And also, it can also cater to the resettlement, to the informal settler families. So as I've said, it all depends po on the appraisal of the property and yung mga outlying or prevailing existing situation there in the area would determine the feasibility of the project site, no, for socialized housing. And professionals, no, designers and planners, environmental planners, they can help in the designing, no? O like yung mga land use po ng mga ginagawa natin ngayon in NHA. Before I left, I already introduced, or it was a memo circular already that we introduced in my department and implemented NHA-wide, that we will not follow the 30-70% saleable and non-saleable, no? But we already implement the 60-40, 60% buildable and 40% open space, because we wanted to provide also for the community facilities there. Kasi ang nangyari po rin sa 30-70% na buildable in the economic housing pa nga yan, in the BP 220, there is no maximum, no? But when you look at this land use, nakakain na po ng mga community facilities yung 30%, no? So we added another 10% so that it could answer for the buildable area for the community facilities. So yun po yung mga innovations that we can look at, no? On the design aspect.
Thank you. Thank you, Architect Beth, and of course, Attorney Buenaventura. No? Talagang madaming magiging question dito sa dalawang topic natin ngayon. And maybe this should just be a start and we can pursue this. These are burning questions of not only of the day, but of the past few years, if not decades, for the housing backlog. No? So on behalf of Bansa Joa, we thank you, and of course Nerea, we thank both Attorney Buenaventura and Architect Beth. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome po. Thank you po.
Thank you rin po.
So, sana yung natin, host.
Visualizing your space has never been easier. With a personal studio that fits right in your pocket. Experience the magic of transforming your spaces in just a few taps. Share the excitement. Make your dream space a reality. Express your creativity with the Davis Color Studio app. Download now.
Okay, thank you, sponsors, and thank you to our moderators, Mr. Bansan C. Chowa and Mr. Marcelino C. Mendoza. And of course, to our speakers for today, Attorney Ronel U. Benaventura, and Architect Benita O. Regala, FUAP, ASEAN Architect, for the fruitful open forum. And now, to give our certificate of recognition for our speakers, may we have the current and President and CEO of First Park Homes Inc. and the ENRIA Board Chairman. Let's all welcome Mr. Ricky M. Celis.
Thank you very much. Of course, we thank our speakers for engaging us in a very fruitful, productive conversation. Lots of things to think about, lots of things to be done. And of course, ENREA will be one agent you can count on to initiate all of these things. With that, we'd like, on behalf of ENREA, we'd like to provide this certificate of appreciation, firstly to Attorney Ronel U. Benaventura, in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as a special guest and resource speaker during the ENREA Business Forum Online Real Estate Updates and Insights on March 16, 2022 via Zoom and ENREA Philippines Facebook Live. Signed, yours truly, Ricky Celis, Board Chairman, Architect Ronnie Biando, National President, Ms. Marisa Del Mar, our Chair Emerita and Chair Lady, Board of Advisors, and Architect Sol Prado, Secretary General. Thank you, sir, and congratulations.
Thank you, Paul.
Same goes for our another speaker, Architect Benita O. Regala, FUAP, AA, PIEP, in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as special guest and resource speaker during the ENREA Business Forum Online Real Estate Updates and Insights today, March 16, 2022 via Zoom and ENREA's Philippine Facebook Live. Signed, yours truly, Board Chairman, Architect Ronnie Biando, National President, Marisa Del Mar, Chair Lady of the Board of Advisors, and our SecGen, Architect Sol F. Prado. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, Sir Ricky Celis. For the presentation of certificates of appreciation for our moderators, may we have the CEO of First Centerland Development Corporation and the member of the Board of Advisors, our very own Sir Benigno T. Cabrieta Jr.
Thank you. Also, thank you to our speakers. But I'd like also to thank our moderators for making this webinar very exciting, and we learned a lot from you. So this certificate of appreciation is given to my fellow Board of Advisor, Mr. Bansan C. Chowa, CPA, in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as moderator during the ENREA Business Forum Online Real Estate Updates and Insights on March 16, 2022 via Zoom and ENREA Philippines Facebook Live. Signed, Mr. Ricky Celis, Board Chairman, Architect Ronnie Biando, National President, Ms. Marisa Del Mar, Chair Emerita and Chair Lady, Board of Advisors, and Architect Maria Isolde Prado, Secretary General. The same certificate is also given to my fellow Board of Advisor, Mr. Marcelino C. Mendoza, in sincere appreciation of your invaluable service to the association, particularly as moderator during the ENREA Business Forum Online Real Estate Updates and Insights on March 16, 2022 via Zoom and ENREA Philippines Facebook Live. Signed, Mr. Ricky Celis, Board Chairman, Architect Ronnie Biando, National President, Ms. Marisa Del Mar, Chair Emerita and Chair Lady, Board of Advisors, and the Architect Sol P. Prado, Secretary General. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ENREA.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, so much, Sir Cabrieto. We will just have this little announcement for your questions that has not been addressed to for today. Please send your questions via nareya_org@yahoo.com email. And this will be forwarded to our speakers, and it will be addressed. For the closing remarks, may we have our immediate past national president and our current NAREA Board Vice Chair Lady, Ma'am Imelda C. Magtoto.
Thank you, Baguio CAR Chapter President, Ms. Alma. Good day, everyone. The National Real Estate Association, or NREA, is extending gratitude to Architect Benita Regala for that insightful presentation, the proposed business model of triple mix for land use, income levels, to financial programs, and the students' innovative design models considering resiliency, urban architecture, gender issues are impressive. On the other hand, Attorney Ronel Buenaventura updates on anti-money laundering will save our economy from the harmful effects of crime and illegal practices. Our today's event will help and assist our members, friends, and colleagues in the housing industry. Thank you to all our members, participants, sponsors, especially again our resource speakers. Stay safe and mabuhay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. So we are now ending this activity. We will be having another, the same business meeting soon. Thank you to my partner, Architect Louis. You did very well. Very good job.
Thank you, Miss Alma.
Everybody. God bless.
God bless everyone. And thank you for attending our NREA online business meeting.
And picture taking.
Yes.
Picture taking.
All right, picture.
Okay na ba, ma'am?
Okay.
Okay. God bless everybody and see you again for the next business.